Hello, everyone. This is Felicia Baxter. I am your NCFroWineNerd traveling vineyard extraordinaire, and I'm actually excited about being here tonight. This is actually another event. This is actually my second event as far as the traveling vineyard next in what I'm doing now kind of thing. For example, this weekend, I actually I wanted to give a big shout out to Janelle Buchanan as well as Movita Gray. We actually hosted my inaugural event in Maryland right before the game. Okay, so the game. How can I describe the game? The game was bad. Dallas, I don't know who that team was. I'm not sure if our quarterback actually showed up. It was just really crazy. I have never in my life seen it was just a big debacle. I wish that Dan Bailey was back. I wish that we had a more consistent quarterback. I've never in my life, and I think because it's a sin, wish that Dak Prescott, who was that? Who was our quarterback? And I guess the Redskins could say the same thing, but they won by 3, so whatever. But prior to that game, I was actually able to, I was in Fredericksburg I started out with the alumni events. We had a happy hour, and then we had homecoming, and then I went to Movita Gray's house with her and Janelle were the co-hosts for that event. This event is especially for Janelle is actually the host of my online event of my next adventure, which is Traveling Vineyards. Just a little bit about what I'm actually doing now, because Cheryl, hey Cheryl, she actually wanted to know what exactly am I doing now, and my cousin Viva asked that, and she was like, "Are you ready for? You sound like you're doing sound bites," and I guess I do because I think that I try to describe my life to people, and it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. For example, I'm back in Greenville, North Carolina, after my 10-month stint, 9.5 in a few days stint, in Oregon. I'm not full-time clinical anymore. I'm extremely part-time. And I'm a physician advisor, so I actually make people, how can I say it? I actually make people, or the insurance companies pay us, the Vineyard Medical Center, it's money. Hey Nancy, how you doing, girl? But anyways, what I also do is I do a bunch of denials. Basically, I present the clinical information, and I'm actually thinking I'm very good at presenting it in such a way or in such a story that will allow them to see that they actually need to pay the facility what they actually earn. I found out by doing that full time, you do it to a certain extent as a hospitalist, but doing this full time and actually getting to think about the cases, I actually have a new appreciation for just the work ethic of the hospitalist and what they actually do. They take care of some significantly ill patients. I just need to tell the story. What helps is if they give the story in a very succinct manner, I can present it to the insurance companies, and then they can actually get what we're due. In this economic climate, we cannot afford to actually leave any money on the table. My truth is, I want to live my best life. And I think I'm actually doing it from where I'm sitting at this time. I want to be more financially secure. I think my next position, which is actually going to be in Kentucky, after the first of the year, is going to allow me to do that. But what is also going to allow me to have fun up until that time, and also do what I also like to do, is this, and it's traveling Vineyard. I'm sitting in my home right now. I'm all Francis Farmered out. I have on my jacket, my sweater, and then my pink shirt, but I have on my Star Wars PJs. But you wouldn't know that because you can't see me from the waist down. I want to, in addition to going over, doing a debrief of my first inaugural event, what worked and what didn't work. What really did work was, being able to nerd out on the finer points of wine and the chemistry, etc. I actually put together a presentation to go over what the wines that I'm going to be showcasing tonight. I did, if you actually want me to basically do this presentation, because I believe wine should be shared. Wine tastings and wine socials are a very social event. If they're very social, this is how you socialize. It should be shared between friends. And I think I don't mind doing this because, of course, I love to talk, but I want to do some education. But I wanted to go over and also be able to practice my presentation when I actually do a formal tasting in your home. If you want to get more information, just hit me up on Facebook. Have Wine Will Travel. If you're within about 4 hours of Greenville, North Carolina, or Fayetteville, North Carolina, I don't mind traveling to you and being able to host the event and do an education. One of the things, the positive things that I actually was able to get feedback from the group from this weekend was they learned something. Wine tasting was more than just tossing back 5 bottles of wine. It was more the chemistry and the nuance of the presentation. And the takeaway from that was actually very positive. So with that said, I am going to take a brief break just to let the host know that I am online now. We'll repost the video on my personal in a minute. And it's actually really not very difficult to actually host an event. You just let me know when you want me to be there. What I just need to ask you a few questions of what your preferences are, so I make sure that I bring the correct tasting kit. And it would also be beneficial to your guests, that they will know that they will get a variety of wines. The tasting this weekend, I actually bought a variety of sweet, semi-sweet to sweet, and also one traditional Syrah, which is in itself a very red, and it's also a very dry wine, because Janelle actually has a preference to sweet wines, and anything beyond Robitussin she thinks tastes like hot mayonnaise. That's not one of the descriptions of wine that I've ever heard and that is in the repertoire of wine tasting, but it's the funniest one I've ever heard, so I'm going to use it intermittently. What else? I'm booking through for forever. I picked this up as Janelle says she has the idea, and I actually execute. Probably this is the most fun that I've actually had as far as an idea and seeing it actually through. I'm a quintessential entrepreneur. I always have a side hustle. I've done organic food vending machines. I've done a brand called India Hicks. And this, in all honesty, this is actually a lot more fun. You actually get the opportunity to place your orders. It gets shipped directly to you. I don't have to have an inventory. I actually like the inventory that I actually have. It's really easy for me to speak to something that I love. So with that said, I'm going to actually jump into what a wine tasting or a presentation should actually go or should actually be. And it's just going to take me a minute because did you guys know that one, you actually get to ask questions. In the you actually get to ask questions within Go Live when you actually go live on Facebook. But I also have to figure out how you can actually share screens. There's some other nuances that I'm not as familiar with. I call myself practicing. However, we go to see. I actually came home early enough. I did a lot of errands today, and I actually came home to actually prepare some of the foods that I'm actually going to be tasting while I demonstrate how to taste wine. I'm going to be demonstrating those things later. Causes a wine to go bad. And I'm hopeful that we actually will be able to learn together in this endeavor. Created a 1-question poll. I got one. Somebody's viewing me online. Hey, y'all. And as I said, I'm very hopeful that I will be able hey, Janelle, how you doing, girl? I was actually able to post your charger. Order a bottle of wine after this actually closes out. Don't order it tonight. Just, post your new order next week sometime, when I say it's okay. So I will, as I was telling Jess, I plan on actually reposting this video to my personal live stream. And I'm hopeful that people will then go forth and will then actually go forth and order more wines. Let's see. Interactive, I added a question. What causes cause of wine going bad? There we go. I am now going to figure out how I can actually share my screen so I can get onto the presentation so then I can actually get onto the tasting. Actually share my screen so I can get onto the presentation so then I can actually get onto the tasting. So this is not letting me do it. I'll figure it out in a minute, y'all. I promise. Pose. So, wine itself. One of the things that you'll notice that I will actually do intermittently, as I get better, I won't have to refer to my Somology cards. I have these actually great cards that basically go over some of what I'm actually going to demonstrate today. I use these as reminders. We're going to experience wine on 4 accords, meaning how does the wine look? What is the color? How does it smell? when we swirl it, what are we looking for? And then finally, how we taste it. When you are in a wine tasting, you don't want to immediately go to just basically tasting the wine itself. You actually want to experience the wine, and you experience it through not only your tongue, but how you smell and how it visualize. How you experience wine are on 3 different accords. If you navigate to the My TV Wine /1558747 site, you'll see a number of wines actually presented there as far as what the featured wine is. However, I'm only going to be focusing on 2 varietals and 2 tastings today. The 2 wines that I'm going to be presenting, and you'll also see me take a sip of water. 1, because I talk a lot and my throat's dry. But also, in between each tasting, I want to basically cleanse my palate. So you'll also see me take a sip of water in between each. I don't sip and spit. That's a waste of good wine. However, what I will be doing in between each tasting is just taking a sip of water to basically cleanse my palate as much as I can. So with that said, I am going to move this slightly to the side because it doesn't appear, once you actually go live, it does not give you the opportunity to actually share your screen, but that's okay. I can actually, I'll create a posting a little bit later on with all of the nerd talk about the nerddom that I'm actually about to get into. We're going to actually, I'm featuring 2 wines today, 2 varieties. The first is this Riesling. It's called Calamity Sue. This wine is basically from domestic wine from California. And every Riesling is not created equal. You'll notice that some Rieslings are of a sweeter variety. And what I have found out that most people know Rieslings actually because they were a part of what the German nobility, they basically stockpile their cellars as far as Rieslings itself. And what I'm navigating to right now is just a description of what Riesling is and my particular Riesling. This particular Riesling, you'll be able to experience on the multiple levels of color, aroma, body, and taste. You'll also be able to appreciate what exactly this is. This is actually a pouring spout. It's called a tulip wine pour that actually is also available on my website. I particularly like this purple, but the other variety that I'm actually going to be demonstrating tonight is what is called Vineyard Pebble. This is another one, hot pink with a fluorescent green, also stopper. This particular trifecta of fun is actually included on the website in a wine gift pack. And we will go over the 3 we will actually go over the 3 4 properties that will allow you to actually taste wine. And you'll see me look down or look to the side because I'm actually referring to a presentation that I actually put together for the purposes of this get together. The Calamity Sue itself is, as I said, a very muted yellow. It has a specific nose, and it has basically a fruity finish. What exactly am I speaking of? So let's proceed into the first tasting and pairing. This is a stopper. When you're actually at a tasting, usually as the wine guide, I don't actually do the pouring. It's actually done by the host or hostess. You pour approximately 2 ounces of fluid, which is about this much. And then you go through the 4 stages of how to actually enjoy this wine. The first thing that you'll notice, and I'll hold it up to the screen, is the light yellow color of this particular variety. You'll also notice that when you see wine tastings on TV, they do all these different things. They swirl it, they sip, but why are they doing all of those things? When you actually swirl the wine, it just aerosolizes the aromatic carbons that allow you to smell the wine itself. And that's what I'm actually doing now. I'm swirling on my desk, and then I'm taking a sniff. If you do it correctly, you'll smell 2 very distinct things. Very citrusy or a lemon finish to this particular wine. I could even thought I smelled peach. It has almost a caramel. Wait a minute. More like gardenia. It does have a little bit of kick or acidity to it, but I definitely get those floral hints and citrusy. At a very modest chill temperature, this actual wine will actually pair and hold up, believe it or not, to Indian food, like a really hot curry, or like what I actually had 2 nights ago at our local Indian restaurant, shrimp vindaloo. Couple things about Indian food. Okay, first, please do not get hot. Hot in curries and hot in everywhere else in the world don't mean anything the same way. As it sets, that heat is released and it will burn your tongue. However, if paired with the correct vintage or the correct vine, it will in itself cut some of that heat. Also have something called naan available for you to actually enjoy. It's a type of unleavened bread made for India, and it's the garlic naan it's absolutely amazing. But the cheese and the paneer, that is what's going to basically set yourself free from the heat. And as I was alluding to, not every Riesling is created equal. For a wide variety of reasons, there are several varieties of Rieslings, from extremely dry to extremely sweet. Our particular Riesling, Calamity Sue, is pretty much on the drier spectrum of the field. It does have a nice straw yellow color, has the floral and citrusy hints, and it actually pairs very well with Indian food. I'm going to actually show, and I'm not sure how this is going to actually present. This is what I have left over as far as my shrimp vindaloo and my garlic naan. When you're doing a tasting, I would strongly suggest, before you knock it down, you give it a swirl, smell, before you actually take a sip of the wine. I would suggest bite of the food, sip of the wine, experience, and another sip. That's good. I had a German sweeter Riesling last night at the night before last at the restaurant. I don't think at this level of heat, I would have enjoyed it as much as I actually enjoyed this now. That was my last shrimp. That's good. The wine disperses that heat, but I'm actually tasting all of the different flavors. I'm not just the heat. I'm actually experiencing, I think it's cilantro, as well as like a smoky flavor. It's not the wine itself. It's a part of the red vindaloo sauce. And the garlic on the naan also is actually very good with this too. I'm actually pleasantly surprised, and it holds up well with this particular variety. That's good. So I'm going to actually pause here. And because I forgot to do it, not only do you experience with the swirl and see, how do you actually experience when you actually swirl and then you tip the glass? What are we actually looking for? It doesn't pick up very well on the video itself, but after you swirl and you tip, you basically are watching just how fast the wine or the legs are actually drifting down on the side of the glass. What exactly does that mean? The slower the fall of the wine down the side of the glass, the more the sweeter it is, and it probably has a lower content of alcohol. For example, all of the sweet wines that we actually have, like the Frasadas and some of the other very dessert wines, like the blonde, there's a blonde and there's a rosé that we actually carry that are actually very sweet. You'll notice that the legs actually are very, very fast down the side of the glass. This is about medium. It takes several seconds, so it's about medium. For a white. It's actually a very full-bodied wine in and of itself. So and then after you take a sip of it, you'll notice that it's not very harsh on the palate. It's not dry, but it's not all that sweet either. I think it's actually a very good balance of a Riesling. Some Rieslings and Gewürztraminer, some of the more German-esque wines, they can actually have a very kind of a tangy finish or aftertaste. The last taste that you actually feel, that's what I'm actually speaking of as far as finish on your palate. And this particular wine, I don't think it has a very tangy after finish itself. It actually pairs very good, very, very, very well with the shrimp vindaloo that I actually just had. Very crisp wine, very summery. When you think of spring and summer, you think of Riesling. If you had more of like a scallop or a whitefish, this actually wine is what you would think that you would actually generally pair with those types of meats. But surprisingly, it holds up extremely well with the spicier foods from Thai and from India. I'm actually going to move on to my last variety. And we're going to experience it. That also, I'm going to kick a little knowledge as well as do the pairing and just reminders of how you experience wine itself. This is our wine. It's called Viognier. It's a Viognier. Viognier? Is that how you pronounce it? It is a crisp, classic white wine. It has an extreme amount, not too bad though, has 13.3% alcohol content. It's also a domestic wine. And as I basically said before, this tulip wine pour is actually also available on my site as well as a part of this tasting itself. If we were in the house, in someone's home or at an event, the hosts themselves would pour approximately 2 ounces of this variety. And I'm not sure if the screen picks this up very well. Has a honey-colored straw consistency to it. I'm swirling it to release the aromatic molecules. This has more of a peachy nose. That means how it smells. Is that cinnamon? Hold on. No, that's nectarine, or like a really orange, a freshly peeled orange or nectarine. Peach. I smell peach. Oh, that smells good. As I swirl and then I actually tip. As far as the white and this is truly a full-bodied wine because it actually takes a very long time to actually get the legs. Take a while to get to the side, down the side of the glass, and it makes sense with the 13.3% alcohol. And when I actually taste it, not very acidic at all. There's not a bitter aftertaste. And it's not like, it actually has, cleanse my palate, let's try this again. I love that smell of nectarine. And you can taste it going down, and it literally has, you can still not only smell it, but you can actually taste it in the finish. But it's not pungent, it's not overpowering. This particular variety also holds up well against spicy foods, bacon, and of a wide variety of foods themselves. Let's actually see how it holds up to this Vindaloo. It's good. I think that tangerine or citrusy finish actually gives it even more of a spike. Not unpleasant. What I'm thinking is I prefer this, my Pebbles Viognier more so than this Riesling to the Vindaloo. Don't get me wrong, either one of them would actually pair extremely well. Mm-mm. Definitely, the Viognier goes very well with the Vindaloo. Not so much with the naan. It actually, the garlic and the naan flattens the wine itself, not in a pleasant way. Janelle, hot mayonnaise. That's how I'll put it that way. Last but not least, as I was saying towards the beginning of my go live, I have mad respect for parents that work full-time jobs and then have to do a running around to football games, to soccer games, to piano lessons. Y'all are my heroes. I don't have to do that. I basically have banker's hours, and it's not so stressful for me. Once I finish my reviews, I'm out, and I actually get to do these types of things. So anything that can actually allow you to enjoy food and to save money, I'm all with that. It took me 20 minutes to prepare my meal for this tasting, and it was only $15. How is that possible? One of the things when you basically surf my site, you'll notice that I don't have any wines over basically 21 bucks. Both of the wines that I actually just demonstrated are less than $18. And they go pair very, very well with food. I think I spent more for the shrimp vindaloo because I didn't make that myself, but I think that particular meal would be about 25 bucks, and it would last me about 4 or 5 days because I eat alone. But the next pairing that I'm getting ready to do between the fresh tarragon, the 2 leeks, and the rib steak, truly total $15. I lied to you not, because I already had salt and pepper here and the olive oil. And it took me about 20 minutes to prepare it, to clean, to chop, and also to do the saute. What I'm demonstrating for you right now is rib steak topped with sauteed leeks and shiitake mushrooms with fresh tarragon garnish. This particular pairing should go well with the Sauvignon Blanc that I ordered, but that was delivered to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And as I said, I'm in Greenville, North Carolina. So we are going to see how my Riesling, and I'm thinking this Viognier is going to actually be the pairing of choice for this particular wine, for this particular food. What is a leek? A leek is a very big plant that has the consistency and the scent of an onion. But it also mellows out when you actually saute it with a little bit of salt. The shiitake mushrooms all in itself should be, it should actually stand up. If you know anything about wine tastings themselves, there is a rule that you're supposed to actually pair red wines with red meats and smoky meats. But leeks, mushrooms actually may do better and hold up better with Sauvignon Blancs. As I said, the Sauvignon Blanc I actually sent to Fayetteville. Let's actually see how this particular wine holds up to my Sauvignon Blanc. I'm only going to actually pour a small amount, and I'm going to take a bite of this leek with the mushroom That's truth right there. Vineyard, as I said, the bomb. Oh my God. Who knew? Oh my God, this is the bomb. Bless the Lord at all times. Oh my God. Okay. I'm not a chef. I'm not a caterer. This rib steak, which I brined for 2 days, and I also created the Felicia Baxter rub this morning before I left for work. And then I pan-seared it. Oh my God. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so happy that I actually like to cook. This was so stinking good. If I have never taught you anything today, my rub, brine steak topped with leek and shiitake mushrooms with Pebble Vineyard white wine, ain't nothing but the truth. That was so stinking good. Oh my God, that was so stinking good. Holy smokes. That was good. I'm actually so excited about ending this live presentation so I can actually pour myself a glass of wine and finish this steak because I'm so happy right now. And what I wanted to get to though is for $15.85, I basically have enough food for one person can actually eat comfortably for the next 3 to 4 days. I actually compare it sufficiently with probably a bold white wine that I wouldn't have even have thought of because my Sauvignon Blanc is actually waiting for me in Fayetteville. I'm so excited about going live again to see how my Sauvignon Blanc pairs with this rib steak, because rib steak by itself is the bomb, but when you pair it with the great wine, how crazy is that? If I can recommend anything for you today, this pairing with leeks and mushroom and Vineyard, Pebble Vineyard from Traveling Vineyard goes really well. And I'm excited about putting my next two presentations of course will be online, but I'm actually going to have steaks with my homegirl, Nancy. She is actually going to come over and we're going to do steaks with a Malbec. But I have a feeling she is going to be completely blown away when I pull out my Pebble with my Felicia Secret Rub steak itself. Actually, I'm going to have to take, hey, Christine, how are you? I'm going to have to take another bite of this because I'm completely blown away by my leeks and Secret Rub steak that only took me 2 seconds to make. And then the whole meal itself is like $15. So tulip top, pour Pebble Vineyard, just a little taste. Color, legs are very long. Bite of food, the bomb. Sip of wine, woo! Thank you, Jesus. That ain't nothing but the truth. I'm through. That's so stinking good. Pebble. This the truth right here, y'all. I don't consider myself, hey girl, I'm doing fine. I'm living my best life. I just actually am eating steak and wine and I'm showing off to the world. I mean, how many people get to say that they do that? Hey, girl. How many people get to say that they have a legal, there you go, a legal product that they enjoy within reason, and they can actually want to share it with the world? Before today, I have never eaten a leek in my life. I'm in love with leeks. I'm in love with shiitake mushrooms. Besides them being in season, also enhanced by this right here, Pebble, Vineyard wine from California. Go to my site. Please buy this. I'm just floored. I'm so happy right now that I've made a discovery that I actually really like. And I also need to write down the ingredients to my rub. That is how everybody needs to do steak. Brine it to make sure it's nice and, it breaks down those proteins so it melts in the mouth when you actually have to pan fry it or you put it on a grill. And then you do that rub. It basically all enhances it. It is absolutely so amazing. So with those things said, this is actually coming to the end of my second event for Traveling Vineyard. I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. I'm going to repost this on my feed as well as on the Wine Guides feed for my company. In essence, everything that I've actually demonstrated, with the exception of this fantastic steak and the shrimp vindaloo, is actually going to be available on the link mytvwine.com/1558747. You can actually order the pourers, the aerators, which you don't need with white, online. The two wines that actually were best rated during my first inaugural event was this Muscat Hoot, which is also a domestic wine, semi-sweet, and of course an unoaked Chardonnay from Australia, which actually paired very well with vegetable quiche, which I'm actually going to be demonstrating with Nancy Keith in my next event in a couple of weeks. But I think as far as steak, you don't have to have red to actually enjoy a very good steak. I've just proved that a rib steak, brine rib steak with a rub topped with leeks and mushrooms pairs very well with Pebble, Viognier, Paso Robles. Our Riesling Calamity Sue pairs extremely well with very hot shrimp vindaloo with their curries. This ends my second event for Traveling Vineyard. I hope you guys had fun, as much fun as I did. I'm going to enjoy my steak. Hit me up on Facebook, place the order. And if you've learned anything today, Pebbles Viognier with steak and leeks and mushrooms, the bomb. You guys have a great night. Talk to you soon, okay? Bye.